Mohanlal has been reinstated as the undisputed king of the Malayalam box office industry. Two bangers back to back, Thudarum, Empuran. This actually proves that why he doesn't have to give a flying flamingo about all his critics and the other people who are trying to tear him down over the past couple of years, because he knows that even if he gives 20 duds back to back, all it takes is one hit for everybody to forget everything and get laletnized all over again. Here's a wild question though. Do you think that the release date of Thudarum being put right after Empuran was like kind of a coincidence, or is it like the biggest, dopest business ninja moves ever pulled off in Malayalam industry? Okay, it may be a silly hypothetical theory, but you know when I'm saying that because when I watched Empuran and Thudarum back to back on OTT, I had this unsettling feeling in my mind. Like, is it because, like, when when you're coming out of the disappointment of watching Empuran, it kind of reset the bar of expectation before going in to watch Thudarum. You know what I mean? It kind of influences your state of mind before watching a movie when you see a bad movie just before it. So, look, I'm not taking credit away from the creators of an exceptionally well made movie like Thudarum, but I'm saying that, I can honestly say that it didn't help. So, the protagonists of these two movies, Qureshi and Shanmugam, represent two diametrically opposite but fundamental hero archetypes that have been represented in the Malayalam cinema for more than like half a decade. So there are plenty of reasons why Empuran as a movie watching experience didn't connect with a millennial Mallu male like me. But I'm not going to get into it because it's like flailing a dead horse. Why do it? But the main reason why Empuran didn't connect for me was Mohanlal was forced to play like a hero archetype that he wasn't comfortable with, while he is successful at another hero archetype that he has been doing it successfully for decades, and he's amazing at it. But okay, he can pull off being a international syndicate warlord, but if that is what he's going to play, he needs some author backed character traits, which he wasn't given, and which led to not being able to play that part convincingly. So what are these hero archetypes and how do they influence us? What are like the financial, emotional, and artistic outcomes of movies helmed by these hero archetypes? Well, that's a project I'm actually working on, but before getting into all that, I just wanted to point out a few things to set the premise. Let's start with Prithviraj. The man doesn't make movies actually, he just makes projects. And I don't mean this to sound like in a bad way. Projects that were like designed to push Malayalam cinema to bigger stages, and you got to admire the hustle, the ambition, the craft, and the vision that the guy has. He probably meant good, and can't forget he's the reason most A-list Mallu actors now lift weights, learn their camera angles, and don't show up on screen like your neighborhood bank manager. But here's the thing, I don't think Empuran was ever meant to be a Malayalam film. At least not for a Malayalam audience. I mean, don't take my word for it.
I don't even know if the film I'm making is the sequel that people expect of Lucifer. You are not going to see Mohanlal wind up his mundu and beat up people in a closed down factory. That is not what I'm making. So yeah, let's see.
So while watching the movie, it felt more like a campaign of sorts rather than a movie. It was one of those projects that were designed to prove a point to someone or somewhere. It kind of looked like a Bollywoodized version of a Malayalam movie. And that's okay. I mean, as a business decision, it was a calculated corporate level business risk, like an outreach project. And on that level, it was a huge success. And that's not in any way a small achievement. It turned out to be the biggest revenue spinner in Malayalam box office history. But as a movie, it was a huge mess. So let's rewind a bit. Prithviraj makes his debut movie Lucifer with Mohanlal playing the protagonist. The protagonist, Stephen, is a relatively low-key MLA who runs an orphanage in a small town. Over the beats of the story, Stephen starts out as a somewhat reluctant person to assume power even when the situation favors him. He does not want any trouble. There are rumors of him having shady connections to the criminal underworld outside of Kerala, but nothing is confirmed. He has a hazy backstory. His mode of transport is a vintage ambassador car. Then, gradually, over a series of dramatic events, once he is forced to act, he is revealed to be an all-powerful international crime lord and kills the villain. Now, cut back to Thudarum. The protagonist of the movie, Shanmugam aka Benz, is a retired stunt artist living a low-key but happy life with his wife and kids in a small town. He sort of earns some income driving a vintage ambassador car that he has an exaggerated emotional connection to. He has a hazy backstory. He does not want any trouble. Over the beats of the story, he starts as a low-key family man and then gradually, over a series of dramatic events, once he is forced to act, he turns into a revenge-fueled fighting machine and kills the villain. Both Lucifer and Thudarum are basically Mohanlal fanboy movies with a substantial amount of old Mohanlal movie references sprinkled in for fan service, but without compromising on storytelling or breaking the character arc of the protagonist, and of course, fully otifying the mundu-winding, misha-twirling Mohanlal machismo. Both protagonists have a definitive arc. They do not start and end the movie as the same person. This is no coincidence. Both movies subscribed to the time-tested Triple M or massy mainstream Mohanlal formula. Both movies have a protagonist who is powered by empathy and therefore they connected to the Mohanlal fanbase. Empuran did not follow the formula. There was no character arc. The protagonist is now Qureshi, not Stephen, and Qureshi has everything perfect. He is what I would call an aspiration-powered protagonist. He's something that you could aspire to be, but never could, and hence, it will not connect with the wider audience. So obviously there's a lot going on in Empuran that doesn't really connect to the audience. I mean, we already know. But I'm not getting into it. That's a whole another video altogether. But I just want to wrap this video up because this example was just taken to set up a premise for the hero archetype video that I'm doing. But having said that, I think the makers of Empuran really didn't have to follow a formula or even play it safe. The makers of Empuran actually knew that the economics of this project was taken care of for two major reasons. Number one, the audience was already hooked on to the brand of Lucifer. I mean, you got to give the dude credit. It was a pretty decent project. So hats off to Prithviraj for that. Number two, the whole massive PR campaign around Empuran was designed as if this was the Malayalam cinema to cross box office boundaries all over the country, especially to prove a point to the North Belt. But it was as if every Mallu had this duty to promote it, buy a ticket, and then make Tony Ashirwad a chunk of change. So if the economics of the project was taken care of, why do you have to follow the same formula and make a mass blockbuster all over again? Why not do an experiment? Makes sense, I mean, vaguely. But okay, so yeah, Empuran was probably not the movie that we asked for, but hopefully it's a brave step on so many new frontiers for Malayalam cinema. And I believe it could provide some kind of a template for other directors and maybe even Prithvi himself to tweak on it and deliver a better watching experience next time in this genre.